Warning, the media that is about to play will most definitely contain graphic and foul language. You probably won't hear the word clunge and cockwomble, but other American swear words intended solely for entertainment. The opinions shared here may not be shared by everyone, and in some instances will troll you and the rest of the internet. Not intentionally, of course. If you are easily offended, don't have a sense of humour, or have your head that far up your own arse you need a glass stomach to see out, this probably isn't for you. But for everyone else, have a good time, and as always, stay creative.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bryan SilverbaX Show podcast. I am Bryan SilverbaX, and with me is the Nightwing to my Batman, JR. What's up, dude?
What's up, Bryan?
Nightwing to Batman.
That's not a bad one.
That's not a bad. I think the last, yeah.
You said you told me I was your Robin to your Batman last time, which I take issue.
I've been thinking about how many pairings I can do.
Why don't you make me your Red Hood to your Batman?
Well, I got a lot. Hopefully, we have a lot of episodes to go. But today we're going to be talking about the movie Joker and how we feel. So, spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, spoiler centric.
We're going to talk about the movie Joker. This installment is brought to you by Capone Streams. Stick around. What's up, JR?
What's up, Bryan?
All right, so for those that are listening to this, we are recording this, not even recording, I'm streaming this live to the podcast Facebook page, and then I've shared it out. So the people can watch it now and supply comments, and maybe we'll see them.
Know that?
No, I see right there.
Oh, okay.
Like Paul just says, do stuff. I don't know what that means, but I wish that the microphone feed could go in there. Like maybe if this turns out to be a cool thing, I can try to engineer some other shit that works better.
All right.
But right now, so anyone listening, we did do this live on. Hey.
It says do stuff.
He did say do stuff. So we have both seen this movie Joker. It's not the Joker, it's Joker. And for those that don't know, like I said, we're going to spoil stuff.
Yeah, this is spoiler filled.
And I was talking to Amos. Spoiler is something that can happen to Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be stuff that happens that you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming.
It's going to ruin the surprise for people.
There's nothing that you can really spoil about the Joker movie. Like you have to be going into that knowing exactly what it is. A mentally ill person puts on makeup and becomes homicidal. Like that's the movie. Yeah. So technically there's no spoilers because there's nothing in this movie that I didn't see coming already.
There's a few topics within the movie that might spoil that moment for you, that turning point.
Maybe moment spoiling.
But that being said, we are going to spoil this shit.
Yeah.
Because we need to talk about it.
So this is a standalone movie, just not tied to anything else. I mean, it is tied to the Batman lore that is, all the comic books and all the other movies, like
or the DC Black.
Yeah, it's dark. It's rated R. And what's weird is it's done by Todd Phillips. When I first heard that Todd Phillips was doing this movie, Todd Phillips did what, Hangover?
1, 2, and 3. He did Old School.
Yeah.
He did nothing but comedies.
I'm here for the gangbang.
Like nothing but comedies.
And I was watching I guess it was like a Looper video or something that said he was being criticized for doing the comedy and
because of the woke culture, he said.
Yeah, and so he was like, "Fuck it, I'll just do other movies." Yeah. And wow, did he do other movies?
Let's clarify that he wrote, directed, and produced this film. So this film is definitely.
It's all
totally different than anything he's done before.
Yeah, this is not what's the movie Road Trip. It's where they go to school.
Well,
no.
You mean his film?
Yeah. It's the one that has Amy Smart in it, and they're going to college. It's got Tim Green in it or Tom Green. Oh, it's a school movie.
It's Road Trip.
Is it Road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's also clarify. He did Road Trip, Old School, Starsky and Hutch, School for Scoundrels, Borat, if anybody knows what that is.
Yeah,
remember that, right?
Did he write it or just direct? What was his role?
I believe he directed and wrote that with
with Sacha Baron Cohen.
He did The Hangover 1 through 3. He did Due Date, War Dogs, and now Joker. And
War Dogs, okay. War Dogs wasn't exactly a comedy.
No, but it was comedy drama-esque. It was dark.
It was Jonah Hill.
Yeah, you got some comments.
Uh-oh.
But nothing nearly like as dark as what Joker was.
I guess I should have wrote spoilers. But yeah, so I went into this. Now we saw the trailers. We knew what this was going to be.
They showed the trailer months and months ago.
Yeah, and we also heard that Todd Phillips was doing it. Joaquin Phoenix is going to be the Joker, and
a lot of red flags were pumped.
And so when you went to go see this, what did you expect? Well, let me tell you what I expected.
Okay.
I expected to see the movie Falling Down. If anyone that's watched that Michael Douglas movie, it is about a guy who has a shit life, and then he ends up getting fired from his job, I think it is.
Everything bad happens to him in the course of a day.
And then he just gets out of his car and walk in traffic and goes and just says, fuck the world, basically.
Well, he starts... Falling Down is a great example of this film because it is that same type of darkness, which we didn't expect for this film to have based on what we were seeing early on.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what I thought.
Well, So I thought this is going to be Falling Down, and then it's going to end with the creation of the Heath Ledger Joker. Like that was kind of what I was expecting from this movie, is a dark descent in society and someone that just reaches their fucking breaking point. I was pretty close to being right.
You're pretty on the mark.
What was your watching the movie? Like, what did you expect to see?
Well, based on the history of seeing movies that we've had, we've had a lot of disappointments on things we thought were surefire.
Yeah.
The Last Jedi sucked balls. So, there's things that they could look great, and then they ended up being total disappointments. I now don't reserve judgment until I see the film.
Okay, but you had to have. I wasn't asking you to judge, but you had to go in there with some sort of expectations.
I'll tell you, I didn't pay attention to who the director, writer, or producer was. So Todd Phillips.
You just knew there was a Joker movie.
I knew there was a Joker movie, and I figured since they were going to do a Joker movie, and they had said Batman is not in this film.
Correct.
I thought, okay, so that's pretty ballsy. Because Joker
it's like having a Venom film with no Spider-Man.
Well, yeah. Joker is the most iconic villain of all time. There isn't one character or one person that isn't into comic books that doesn't know who the Joker is. Everybody knows who the Joker is. So to say that we're not going to have Batman, and by the way, this is what he's going to look like, I was thinking, holy shit, that's a regular clown.
You're talking about the Joker?
The Joker makeup.
All right, once you saw the Joker
so they're
makeup.
not doing classic Joker.
No.
But here's the thing that cinched it to me, because I thought one of two things. This is either going to be a really bad artsy film, or it's going to be a brilliant beginning to getting DC back on the map. When they said Joaquin Phoenix was going to play the Joker, I was like, fuck it.
That's meth.
Awesome.
That dude is, he submerges himself into roles.
Who doesn't remember, who can't forget Walk the Line, where he played Johnny Cash. The dude immerses himself in roles, and the movies aren't always great, but his role is definitely strong. He's a crazy method actor.
I had high expectations when they said that. When they said that this is what it's going to be, I was like, this is going to change what the definition of comic book movie is. But it
didn't still say it didn't guarantee it was going to be good, though.
No,
we just knew that it had a shot.
Here, I knew it was going to be a good movie. I went in there knowing it was going to be a good movie. I didn't know if it was going to be a good comic book.
Right.
Like I didn't know how much comic book there was going to be.
And thankfully, it's not a comic book movie. Let's get that clear to everybody. This is not a comic book movie. This is a psychological thriller.
It's
movie.
rated R.
Yeah.
So let's go there.
Yeah.
Has there been a bad rated R comic book movie? I'm sure there has been, but when I think of The Crow,
sure.
I think of Deadpool. I think of Logan.
Sure.
Like what rated R comic book adaptations have not been good?
I'll even say if this movie wasn't rated R, take out the stuff that makes it a hard R.
No,
the movie is watchable even without that. I'd watch it on television.
You could take the violence out of this movie and it'd still be rated R.
Yeah, well,
it's the concept of it is the deep dark mental health thing that is people under 17 don't need to be like that. That's not when you go see a PG-13 movie. You're going there to have mostly a good time.
And most movies are pandering to that. Like, we want you to have a good time. Would you see?
Yeah,
what
we're
you're
not going to
get?
talk about real shit. We're just trying to let you have fun.
This movie was designed to surprise you. It is a
Blade
hard
was
movie.
good. Yeah, Blade. Someone wrote Blade.
Yeah.
So Blade rated R.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep, yep.
So
The first Blade was fantastic. The third Blade sucked terrible.
I kind of liked it because
No,
it had Ryan Reynolds in it. man.
It also had Patton Oswalt. All right, fine. No, I'm not downing the cast. I'm downing the execution of the movie was shit.
Well, there was a lot of problems behind the
There was
scene
a
on
lot.
that. But so back to the Joker. So I went in with very high expectations of just watching a person kind of like Shutter Island.
No, he deteriorates right before your eyes. And the greatest thing about Joaquin is that he's so watchable. The dude is an intense actor.
I didn't like Her, by the way.
I didn't see Her because, again, I don't watch everything Joaquin does.
Yeah, a guy fall in love with his OS.
But here's the thing. I'll see it now. As I'm sure a lot of people are going through Joaquin's like, what can I watch of his?
All right, so you watched.
Because I tried to watch Viceland and I just couldn't. I couldn't get through it. He was great, but the movie bored me.
Did you like the movie?
Joker?
Yeah.
I thought the movie was fantastic, and it was in a way that the movie is very disturbing. My wife works with a lot of people who have mental health issues and things like that, so that's what she was most impressed about, that they did their homework.
Yeah.
That this
if
is
you're
an
doing something
unhinged
like
person.
this, yeah.
And there's something I want to bring up later when we talk about that responsibility that Joaquin Phoenix has to creating that role. But I loved the movie. I walked out thinking, this is not going to appeal to everybody.
No.
Or it's going to blow up and everybody's going to get it.
Yeah, I watched the movie, and there was very little. There was not Easter eggs in this movie. There's not like a. There was.
But there are.
There's like 2 or 3 things, and I don't mean. I don't. Okay, I don't mean Easter
Well,
eggs.
they weren't like oh my God, that's Batman.
Like there was Easter eggs that the lady's last name was Kane, and in relation to Bob Kane. But what I'm talking about is there wasn't Easter eggs to the cinematicness of DC. Like there wasn't.
No.
Like
you
didn't see
Nightwing
Poison Ivy in the
no,
background.
No, you didn't.
Because I
Harley
expected
Quinn or any of that
at the end of the movie when he's in the facility. I expected at least one of those doors to have like somebody's name, whether it's
right.
I expected to maybe see Dr. Harley Quinzel.
Right.
I thought that maybe
I'm really glad they didn't.
I'm glad they didn't, but
like
I thought that this was, if it was going to happen, that was going to be where it was.
I agree with you. I think what's really great about this film is that if you want to see it in that respect, it ties every Joker lore into this film. The scene where when they finally arrest Joker and they put him in the cab and he's leaning up against it, that's Heath Ledger
very
moment.
Heath Ledger,
right?
yes.
There's a moment where he's also very Jack Nicholson in the way he's dancing around, even though it's the Ray Bolger dance.
Yeah.
It's very Jack Nicholson-y, and the suit was 1976, 77 cartoon Joker,
not only that, it's very Cesar Romero.
Uh-huh, yeah. So what I love about that is it does pay homage to every iteration of Joker,
except for maybe the Jared Leto version.
Well, yeah, but I don't
really
consider that Joker. I consider that.
I don't think it was Heath Ledger's, or not Heath Ledger. I don't think it was Jared Leto's fault.
Jared Leto's a great actor. He could have, if they had let him be
he's
Leto.
He's going to do Morpheus or Mobius.
Morbius. That's going to be awesome.
That's going to be awesome. All right, so you have 9 pages of
it's 6, but isn't the
six typed pages of stuff that you want to cover. So I want you to maybe lead this, and then I will chime in as necessary.
All right. Well, most of these things are just things that we kind of took off of certain articles I've read, things I'm going to reiterate about this film, because this film is blowing up right now. Fortunately, what we know now is that this film has done very well. Everybody is saying just incredible things about it. If anybody has problems with the film, okay, that's fine. But on the general scope, this film is a total success.
So your six pages there are just like facts to refer to?
Yeah. It's facts to refer to.
So then let's hold off on that, because I'm ready to give out. I want to talk about my opinion.
Okay, because there's a couple of opinions I'm going to have on this. Yeah.
Well, but that's.
Oh no! We'll talk.
Okay,
about it,
we'll get to it.
This is all some shit. We got prepared for this.
A lot of movie theater. Well, I don't know about a lot because I have a limited scope, but I know that movie theaters were banning, cosplay, and
which I don't disagree with that.
Some places increased security just because of this movie. So I went to see the movie at 1:00 p.m.
Me too.
During the day.
Yeah, me too.
There was a cop at the movie theater.
They left the lights on during our performance, and I wasn't sure if that was intentional or just stupid. Because
where did you go to see it?
Regal.
I went to NCG.
Yeah, well,
I
wanted to see
even though I live right across the street from Regal, I could walk to Regal. I'm going to NCG every time.
I figured, screw it. I didn't care. I walked in with no preconceived notion of what this film was going to be. I knew that it could very well suck, but there was a few things that automatically told me this film was going to be fantastic, and one of them was the tone of the film that Todd Phillips took.
It's rated R. That's different. First,
the complete watchability of Joaquin Phoenix, and also, and I can't say this enough, the score, the musical score by cellist Hildur blah 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 blah. I can't even say her name, but she's fucking fantastic. And a couple things about the score is that it's so isolated, it's so lonely, and a little dangerous as well. It sounds a little unhinged, but it also does a couple of motifs to the old Hans Zimmer, James Newton Howard
it was
Batman
almost
theme.
So good. I mean, it was a character of its own.
Yeah, I agree.
Kusakan has posted onto the live feed and says that The Shining was probably a very good Joker origin story. Like if you were to, with some tweaks, you could use The Shining as a Joker origin story.
Any step into madness, I will definitely agree with them on that, because that's
what is it?
people thought was Jack Nicholson.
The 23? Was it 23 with what's his name? Truman Show? Jim Carrey?
Yeah, Jim Carrey.
That's probably similar into madness, right?
Yeah, that was, again, we're talking about psychological thrillers as a whole have a lot of these themes. So that's where Joker did its homework. But let's bring this back to, we're not only just telling a psychological film here. We're talking about the tale of the most iconic villain of all time, and you can't fuck this up. Or you can fuck it up, and it'll be forgotten. But now everybody loves the Joker, and for great reason.
Well, everybody loved the Joker after Heath Ledger did it anyway. Like, they had a new respect.
Joker has had very few missteps. I mean, the Mark Hamill Joker, the Cesar Romero Joker was fine for its time.
For what it was, it was.
But Joker's a hard act to follow when you do it right. And this, I will say, since Heath Ledger's put his mark in there, this one had a lot of shoes to fill, and it did its own mark.
When I was finished with this movie, and I'm not even getting to where I wanted to go. I'm jumping around, but I did feel that if Joaquin Phoenix was probably 15 to 20 years younger, this would feel like an origin story for Heath Ledger's Joker.
Sure. I definitely agree with that.
And
if you want to see it,
you could have fused them together. They're walking similar paths.
Sure.
They may be in a different lane of the highway, but they're on the same highway.
And if you look at the history of mental illness and you want to comic book guys it, I definitely think that what we're doing here is we're seeing the origin of a character that becomes the Heath Ledger Joker that will eventually embrace the Cesar Romero version. I'm so crazy, I'm having a great time being crazy. But then at the same time killing people, and he's a murderous, chaotic serial killer.
So the mental illness, I don't have any firsthand. I've never really dealt with anybody that, other than like maybe mild depression or some PTSD, but nothing at this level. So I'm going into this movie and I'm one of the people that just don't know. I know it exists.
Sure. But you also don't discredit it when you see it. When you're looking at it, you're like, that is mental illness.
Yeah, but it's so hard. It's so hard to pinpoint and know if someone is faking, because in the world that we live in with social media, a lot of people are just crying for attention.
Which is amazing why this movie works in social media.
I can fake mental illness in order to get attention. So I think that's making it more difficult for people that truly do suffer from mental illness, because they're and I believe parts of this movie were like, hey, you're expecting me just to be able to turn this shit off.
Sure. And
I can't fucking do that.
Well, if you look at the history of, say, like a cinematic person like Norman Bates, he had a history too. He didn't just start killing people in a hotel. and you model those characters, say, off of actual serial killers like Ted Bundy and things like that we're seeing in Mindhunter, the FBI forensic series about how they learned how to spot serial killers. But this goes down to an unstable geek who is having all the worst luck in his life, and then the world is just beating him down, and what he's driven to...
Even without the mental illness,
Yeah.
this
Well,
will
yeah,
break
sure.
a human being.
Well, the condition that he had,
The laughter.
the laughing and almost crying. Actually, those two exist. My wife treats people with that.
I thought that was such a great way to introduce that laugh
Sure.
and have it. I thought it was very, very smart. So he laughs all the time because of his condition, and that makes people uncomfortable.
Well, and you realize
and he does it when he's uncomfortable.
Yes, the condition was brought about by his brain injury when he was being beaten as a child. The interesting
Which
thing
may
is,
or may not be true. We don't.
True. Now this movie does bring up like what is reality, what happened and what didn't happen,
All right.
how much of it is in his mind. But I will say the two conditions about the uncontrollable crying
Laughter.
and the uncontrollable laughter, which he combined, by the way.
Yeah.
Those two things exist. They are textbook problems with brain injury, and there's medications for it and things like that. And they did their research. I mean, Todd Phillips is amazing,
Phenomenal.
at
Like so the movie opens and he's well, I don't recall the exact frame by frame, but so the movie
He's
starts.
putting on the makeup, and that's why he does the
and he's crying, but then he goes to his probation or his parole officer or some sort of government mental health thing that he has to check in on, and they basically tell him that he's going to no longer get medicines
right
to treat his illness, and he's like, what do I do?
What do I do?
And
which happens. People lose their funding a lot.
I felt like, honestly, I know the Joker's a bad guy. I felt so sorry for Arthur Fleck in this movie, and what it did for me as a human being that I like to think of myself as intelligent. I watched this and I know I'm watching this saying this is somebody's real story. Like for me, like as I'm watching the first 30 minutes of the movie, you could have put based on a true story at the beginning of this and I would have totally believed it.
Sure.
Like there's nothing about this movie that feels that it couldn't be true.
You're absolutely right. This movie definitely made you understand that these things, even though we're talking about a comic book villain in the future, these things could happen. If you look at every unfortunate event where someone has gone to a school with a gun and murdered people, or a movie theater and murdered people, and we're not talking about these people are not good people. These are sick people, but they had cause. At one point, they believed in what they were doing. We love the Joker because he's charismatic, which requires someone who's charismatic.
Well, we've had like 18 different Jokers to like in comic books. Like the comic books retell the origin, the comic books retell so we have fallen in love with all of that. That is the Joker. You know what I mean? So I felt so bad that there's real people dealing with this shit and being treated the way that Arthur was being treated.
Yeah.
And that it hurt so bad.
It was designed to make you realize that. And that's why this movie, when we say this is a hard, difficult movie to watch, it's because you're realizing that this actually happens to people. And that does suck. When you realize, you mean these things could actually create someone who we villainize and always thought they were just born that way. No, we as a society, we actually have a hand in creating these people.
I also note, I can also see the argument for someone watching this movie and saying, someone that suffers from these conditions and has been marginalized and taken advantage of in the world, and feels like the world hates them. I can see someone watching this movie that suffers from that and saying, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go.
I wanted to bring that up too because unfortunately,
so I can see the public concern. Is what I'm saying.
Joaquin Phoenix. I don't know if it was Jimmy Kimmel. He was on an interview recently. And someone had kind of hit him over the head with this. He walked off because they said, do you think this movie, and I'm paraphrasing here, will inspire others to become a serial killer like Joker was, and he didn't expect that question. He didn't know how to react to it, so he walked off because he didn't.
And they said
want to
an
be
hour
responsible for that.
later.
Yeah, an hour later he came back. He didn't answer the question specifically, but I will answer it in my own opinion. And
but
I think,
he also addressed it. He also said the reason I walked off is because I didn't know how to answer the question.
Yeah.
So he needed some time to think about that.
Oh, and he also talked to his lawyers
Yeah.
and their
I
lawyers.
don't want to piss anybody
Because
off.
let's just answer this. Nobody's performance will inspire someone. I don't think it's a movie's responsibility if someone takes what they've seen or heard or listened to or watched or read and does something heinous. Because
No, it's not
that line
excuse.
to cross that line takes so much more than just watching a damn movie.
But
it's not like picking up a guitar and hearing AC/DC.
It's like that for us. We're of level heads.
Right.
But somebody that suffers from those mental conditions, I believe, could watch this movie and not see that it isn't correct.
I agree, but
You could watch it and say, dude, they're going to
seeing-
make a movie about me if I do this.
But they're already seeing something differently anyway. They're already a skewed personality anyway.
This could be the
They're just
straw that broke
looking-
that camel's back.
True,
though.
true. But same thing like with when you've got school shooters. They were going to do it anyway. They were going to do something anyway. The fact that Columbine happened, which I'm not
No,
talking
yeah,
about Columbine, but Columbine, you can't say Columbine is responsible for every school shooter since then, because a school shooter is going to do it anyway.
Yeah, there's no matter the precautions. If somebody wants to go out and act a fool, they're going to go out and act a
gonna do
fool.
that. But as a piece of art, what's great about this is like when you see something like Taxi Driver, which this is being compared to a lot of. It is a character study. It's a brilliant character study. It's an enjoyable movie, even though it's a difficult movie. And they give us a great origin story to an amazing villain who is a villain. Look, he becomes somebody that it is unfortunate that these things make Arthur Fleck become this person. But I will say it was also enjoyable to watch because you want to see how you can you empathize with a villain? Can you understand why they are the way they are? You don't want them to kill, but do you understand?
I had, although as good as this movie was, I had some problems.
Okay, no, that we're here to talk about everything.
I started to have a problem with how quickly Zazie Beetz' character and Arthur Fleck were getting along, and then that was quick. That was resolved.
That was resolved very quickly.
But as I'm watching the movie,
did it actually happen?
I leaned over to Penny and I was like, they must have cut out a big chunk of where they were going on dates and shit, because all of a sudden they're fucking lovey-dovey. I was like, what?
I know.
So
Until
I was like,
that scene.
I was like, this must be the director's cut. And then by the time we get to the end of the movie, that's explained away. And it turns out he was imagining the whole shit. So that one is not a complaint. But while I was watching it, I was thinking of complaining about it.
Sure.
So, but the one of the major things I did not like, and when I watch movies, I want them to feel, I want all the characters and I want all the things to act as if the stuff was real, right? And like with genuine reactions and genuine emotions. And when Arthur Fleck went to Wayne Manor and had an interaction with young Bruce, I didn't know that even in the 80s, I don't think that a boy would let a stranger put his fingers in his mouth and be that close to the gate. That was weird right there. But then, I mean, okay, so let's say
how old do
maybe
you think that kid is?
he maybe 8 or 9.
Okay.
But he may be so pampered that he doesn't know stranger danger.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I can walk past that.
Because he's not Batman yet. He hasn't gone through that.
But any kid that's 9 years old, you don't fucking... But okay.
You think so, but I've been in situations where people have taken like liberties, not like physically, but I'm just saying like where people like, well, oh no, keep away, Bryan. But like you are open to something until something tells you otherwise.
Yes.
When your friend says, "Here, give me your hand," you give him your hand. If he stabs it with a pin and he says, "Give me your other hand," you don't give him your other hand because now you've got experience.
Well, like I said, I can almost explain away that little bit, but here comes the part that I can't explain away. is when the Joker, or when Arthur starts choking the hell out of Alfred.
Yeah.
Who I really wanted someone to say Alfred, but it was never actually said.
No, it's just assumed.
But
yeah.
that boy just stood there. That boy should have done one of two reactions: gone up and started punching and kicking, like get off him, get off him, get off him, or he should have started screaming or something. And he did neither. He just stood there and didn't say a word and didn't move. And I don't feel that was an honest. I don't think that's the way real people would.
Here's where I'll disagree with you that, right?
Oh shit.
So but yeah. Bam, bam, bam. All right, here's where I'll disagree. One, he is not a normal kid. He's a very entitled, very rich, very wealthy kid who's been sheltered all his life. He is not Bruce Wayne / Batman at this time.
Well,
he
of
is
course not.
Everything. He's been taken care of, right? Here comes a man
That's
who's now
choking Alfred. That's your buddy.
Let's back up. He's allowed this very charismatic character to touch him through the bars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put his fingers in his mouth.
And he didn't run. He didn't even flinch. He just like, put my fingers in your mouth, make me smile. So then Alfred comes by, the father figure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh, well, if something's wrong, he's going to take care of it. No problem. So this kid doesn't react. He doesn't say, leave this man alone. He's my friend,
No. But when he starts fucking choking him.
But when he's choking him, I think the kid is in absolute shutdown shock.
You think?
Here's a guy who's bigger than me. All right, we know Alfred is, is prim and proper, but Alfred is bigger. He's actually bigger than Arthur Fleck, and Arthur Fleck has grabbed him through the bars. I think this kid is in shock. He doesn't know what the fuck to do. He's like, oh shit, he's got Alfred.
I thought about that, but I still think it would have warranted some sort of reaction.
I've been in the situation where, when I was a kid, I was always very small, and when you see your bigger friend, being like hassled by an even bigger person, you're thinking, oh shit, I didn't think to run and get the teacher.
No, you could scream out or something.
I did. I screamed inside going, oh fuck, this guy's getting his ass kicked. But, we want to, I think it's very, very Hollywood to think that the kid would start hitting on the guy and all that stuff, because it's different. If you were a Mickey Rourke little kid, maybe you would. He'd say, get the fuck away from me. You do that. But if you're a pampered, shy little kid who clearly just let someone do all these things with him, which felt very creepy, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't think screaming is going to enter in his brain yet. And not until after. I think it's an afterthought.
Well, I thought that was odd. But, so what...
we got comments to have to respond to?
It says reactive instead of proactive as a society. So yeah, this is a big society thing.
Yeah,
but
I don't disagree.
So watching, first off, when he decides, I don't. There's so much good stuff, man. Like the whole shooting of the three kids on the subway.
Yeah, that was an Arthur Getz type thing, homage to the subway shootings back in the 80s of
I don't
New York,
know. It's before my time.
Basically, someone was defending himself and killed 3 assailants.
I almost wanted the lady to be more grateful to Arthur for taking those guys out. Like, she kind of just scurried off.
I don't think she was there. I think she got the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah, like I almost wanted her to almost say thank you in a way.
I think that's New York to get the fuck out of Dodge. I think what I don't think was very realistic, and this is what I'll say, is the 3 socialites that start harassing him harassed him in such a way that felt very Hollywood. It didn't feel very mean girlish. Like, if you're going to get harassed, they're going to be snippy and snide, and they're going to be dicks, and they're going to be jock bullies about it. This went a little over the top about that.
Yes, I agree. But I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it because it was a stepping stone. We have to break him to the point where he kills these guys. Now, what I love is he kills the first 2 guys like this. He shoots the other guy in the ass and he hunts him down, gun out, walking. He is now determined. He's actually determined to murder this guy. The first 2 guys was like, oh my god.
I think he's just determined to take out a witness. I don't know
that maybe, but he's making that choice.
Yeah.
He's making that choice. He's not saying, like, I shot you in the ass, but I shot your other guys because you guys were kicking on me, beating me up, which goes back to the first time he was being beaten in the alley.
Yeah.
I'm going to stand up for myself now. I have a gun. He hunted that guy down, and my wife seemed to think that when he did it, he was horrified and he ran away. I think he was running away just because he want to get the fuck out of Dodge, and he don't want to be seen near any of this.
It almost felt like he was like, I know that I just did something bad,
Right.
so let me skeet on out of here.
But he hunted that guy down with a purpose, on purpose, and he wanted to kill him.
I still say the purpose was to eliminate witnesses.
Okay, I agree with you on that.
So that was okay, and that was kind of like the jump start to this whole thing. And when his fellow Jokers, his fellow clowns came to the house, that kill caught me the fuck off guard. I was like,
yeah.
Is that's the one where he puts the knife
scissors.
in the scissors in his pocket?
Yeah.
And I think when I watched that scene, because he'd already been contacted by the cops and blah blah blah, and I think I to myself I'm thinking he's just putting it there for defense,
right,
like just in case the cops
because he put the
crazy
scissors
or
in
he
there
doesn't
before
know
he knew it was at the door.
Correct. So I didn't think that he put the scissors in his pocket with an intention to use them. More like if I need him, I know that I got something here.
Yeah. And then he made use of his tool.
Then it looked like he pretty much knew that was going to happen.
I think the minute he knew who was there, yeah. Now I will say this: when he kills
The big guy,
I forget what his name is, Roy, Randy, Roger. When he kills him, that was intentional, which I thought was beautiful. Yeah. And then he sits down, he's like exasperated, like, oh my God.
Dude, his endorphins are just fucking running wild.
Letting the other guy go was one, I thought it was his plan, but that was his plan.
I think he was just mad at the guy that gave him the gun.
Sure. Well, he said,
because he knew that he couldn't control himself with the gun. He's like, this guy knows that I'm mentally ill because he's claiming to be my best friend and then fucked me over. But he gave me this gun, and I'm blaming him because if he hadn't have given me the gun, I wouldn't have killed those 3 kids on the subway.
That guy told the boss that he asked to buy it from him.
Yes,
remember, he gave it to him as a gift.
Yeah, he was setting him up to get fired.
The other guy, yeah, exactly. So he was getting him back for being one of the reasons why he lost his job, which was what he loved that job. He could have explained away that this was a prop gun, and they would have said, okay, yeah, it's a prop. But this guy said, no, he asked to buy me a gun from me, and that's what happened. So I think the intent to kill this man was justified in his mind. Letting the other guy go was brilliant because in that moment you're like, oh shit, is he gonna kill me?
Yeah.
Is this a witness thing or not a witness thing?
Can you imagine how puckered that guy's butthole was?
Dude,
stepping over.
Guarantee he walked out with feces and piss in his pants. And then he lets him go. I go, oh no, you're fine, don't worry about it.
Yeah, oh, you gotta get the door.
You're like, yeah, exactly.
I thought that was the Todd Phillips throwing that little short joke in there.
That's terrible.
That was bad.
But
I think just
brilliant.
that added to the uncomfortability of the little guy, like what he was thinking. Like, all right, now not only did I walk past him and I made it, I'm good. Now he's got to come back over here and unlock the door. This guy's in the middle of a mental breakdown,
right? And
I got to ask him for a favor.
Hey, Arthur, can you get the door? What I also love too is the minute I saw that he walked in and he was going to let him go, I realized that they're also, maybe I'm reading more into this or not, but Joker, Arthur Fleck, has always had an affinity visually for people who were not the norm. Who have been called freaks,
marginalized individuals.
Yes. So here's a short person, a little person, who
maybe he's seen him at work getting taken advantage of and bullied around or something.
You're the only one who's ever been nice to me, and that meant something.
Yeah.
And he was always nice to him, always very respectful.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is, he was nice to him, even though this guy, being a little person, has been made fun of and ridiculed because this movie takes place in
the
70s, 80s. All right, so no cell phones, nothing like that. No hyper awareness. We're still not PC yet.
I wish we weren't now.
I gotta hate this woke bullshit. But I definitely love that it also speaks to the classic version of Joker, and that he always feels more comfortable around those who have been ridiculed and are visually odd.
Yeah, I like this a lot better than falling in the acid stuff.
Yeah, that was a 40s, 50s.
We haven't even touched on the Bobby Boucher-ness of this character. When I watched this, I felt like this is Bobby Boucher in a rated R movie.
Sure.
My mama said,
Sure.
I'm going to, he's so simple-minded and has such a respect for his mother, which is what Bobby Boucher is.
Well, I was going Norman Bates with that.
Well, I'm not. I don't know that I've ever watched Psycho all the way through.
It's the same type of thing.
It felt to me when I'm watching this. This is if Bobby Boucher was in Falling Down.
Sure.
And it was rated R. Like that. That's what I felt like. He's so simple, and he's only known his mother. You know, I can see that. I felt bad for the motherfucker, man.
Especially when he tells her, the moment before he kills her, that I haven't had one good fucking day in my entire life.
Yeah, dude.
I've been happy. I haven't been happy one fucking day in my entire life.
Why do you think he killed his mom? Just to put her out of her misery, or was he just wanted to not have any restrictions? Did he feel like his mom was basically like the governor on a car?
I can only surmise that. So my wife and I discussed this too.
Mm-hmm.
I think at that point he felt betrayed by his mother.
Because of the letter.
Well, because of the letter. Now, keep in mind, he didn't know the contents of that letter any of those years beforehand, but he was always taking care of her. She was always saying, "Did Mr. Wayne?"
He didn't read the letter till after he killed her, right?
No, he read the letter before he killed her.
Oh,
it's what sent him off the deep end.
Okay.
But the thing is, I think he killed her because at that point, when he read the file and realized that she had been with several men that had beaten him and beaten her,
and just like allowed that to happen.
And I wonder if that was the implication. Now, let's just say it wasn't allowed, but she was just with a guy who was bigger, and she couldn't defend herself. Clearly, she wasn't with one guy all the time, but with that history and the fact that he couldn't remember that.
Yeah,
he
that's
didn't
how
remember
traumatized he's been from this.
Brain injured. I think at that point he felt betrayed by the woman he thought was a certain way.
Yeah.
To him, and it destroyed his belief. And I think he was just again getting rid of everything that Arthur Fleck was in order to become the Joker.
I do,
because he didn't even react. He just went bam.
I do like the ambiguity of is Bruce Wayne or is Thomas Wayne his dad? Like the mom is professing that Thomas Wayne is your dad and he owes you money and he's the reason here.
He'll take care of us.
And then the medical records indicate otherwise.
That's right, because he didn't realize he was adopted. I think that was the other reason.
And after looking at other people's opinions online and stuff, Thomas Wayne is such a person of influence, he could have had those records altered.
Sure.
So we still walk out of that movie not knowing if Bruce Wayne and Arthur Fleck are brother or half brothers.
Sure. I think
that was awesome way, but I think it was an awesome way to give you an origin and kind of still leave you with questions.
Sure.
But still feel
the fact that
fulfilled.
we're talking about it. Some people could believe that they are, and some people could believe that they're not. And then again,
it's a new take on it. I like it. I mean, there's quite the age difference. Too. But I mean, let's just take age out of it. So I thought that was awesome, and I think the whole talk show aspect of this was. It was just a tool. Like I didn't think it was a huge. We didn't like it. Could have been anything.
But what a great way to introduce the Joker to the public.
National TV,
and at the same time, the fact that Arthur Fleck as a human being was ignored most all his life, and anybody who would have put the Joker and Arthur Fleck together have been eliminated. All right. So the fact that the Joker just appears on
he calls him Arthur on the show though.
Oh, that's right.
He does refer to him as Arthur.
You're right.
And the
but who is Arthur?
Rick Marin character also knows that it's Arthur because he was the one that set it up. So not everybody.
I take that back. You're right. Absolutely right. I forgot about that. I guess what I was mostly going for is that the public consciousness would now see the Joker as. Who is this guy? This is the guy who killed those 3 people in the subway. Now he killed
and they know what
Murray.
He looks like because he did the stand-up comedy bit that they played. That was that stand-up comedy was uncomfortable. Like
the whole movie was uncomfortable.
You're telling second-grade jokes, and your uncomfortable laughter disorder rears its ugly head while you're telling a joke that isn't funny to begin with.
The funny thing is that joke was actually pretty good. With the like, once you go out and make $1 million and you'll never. I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember it. And he's like, "No, Mom, I'm gonna be a comedian."
Yeah,
and like he's gonna make $1 million that way. Which anybody in our position realizes.
Yeah, most comedians probably agree with that. Like, nah, dude. You need to have a
So
day
it was
job.
actually kind of funny. It's just that, even a good joke.
And then, so the end of the movie, after he's already pretty much become the Joker mentally, he leads us to believe that he is going to go on national television and just kill himself for his final joke.
Right.
And I didn't think that we were... I mean, we know that the Joker still exists, so the odds of him killing himself are pretty slim.
But
like,
this movie did establish itself that we're not what you think.
No. But I think the character needed to live on. So, man, when he killed Murray,
That was awesome.
Right, like that, I was like, oh shit, that just happened.
And it was ramping up, and
like the two biggest kills were when he killed his clown buddy, and then when he killed Murray. They were just so fast. It wasn't like in the movies, like, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to come and cut you. It was boom. Well, I'm going to do it.
I'll even go back to the subway. That last kill, the first two guys, bam, bam. But that one where he's seeking the guy out and he shoots him. That was also a defining kill for him. And, I'm not justifying killing people, but I understand, like, when you're going to do a movie and this guy is going to kill somebody, these looked good. These
there were
well
no
staged
hesitation.
moments.
Like, it was a person that was clearly on a path to do it. It's not the bad guy telling you his master plan before he kills you.
Right, yeah, he didn't wax philosophic.
He didn't say, you guys created me and you're the reason that I'm
here.
He
didn't whine
Bang.
About it.
He just was like, oh shit, I got you. Bam.
Yeah, he's like, all right, I'm here to kill you. Bam.
Yeah, dude, that was crazy.
And he didn't shoot everybody else.
No, he just took his targets out.
It was, and the dance he does, the moment, like when he's preparing himself to come out on the stage, he's got that old semi-ballerina look.
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix is in his element at that point. When the entire dance down the stairs, which he says was inspired by Ray Bolger.
Yeah.
His entire embrace of the Joker character at that point, as we knew him to be, is fantastic. It's what we wait for the whole movie for. And as far as I'm concerned, it's what makes the entire movie watchable up to that point as well. I mean, the movie's great alone, but we're there to see the payoff as the Joker, and it is a huge payoff. That moment where his goons take him out of the car, lay him on top of the busted police car,
and almost worship him. Like, it was crazy. So let me just say, the first hour of this movie is long. My wife said, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to stay awake because there's not a lot of action. There's not a lot of stuff. It's all story. And I told her once we got out of the movie, I was like, without that hour, the end doesn't work.
Yeah,
like you have to watch all the torment, all the pain, all the suffering that he's done as it's happening, or else the end isn't justified.
I agree.
So just know that when you're going to see this movie, or if you've already seen it, the first hour is the first beginning is just slow because they want you to identify with this person and what he's suffering from.
It's like Falling Down. Again, I go back to that too, or even Taxi Driver. Everybody knows, you looking at me? You looking at me? Well, nobody else too. You have to see the entire film to understand why the ending has the weight that it does. And if you do, I find that the movie as a whole is completely watchable. Now, do we all have 2.5 hours to sit back and watch this destruction?
No, I was good with it though.
But I loved every second of it. It's completely watchable. The story is smart. The story is entertaining, and the writing is spot on. The direction is spot on. The acting,
all the dialogue was awesome.
What they gave Joaquin to work with was amazing. From the laughter and the crying laughter thing to the uncomfortability.
Oh, okay. Another thing that I did have a problem with was the interaction with the lady on the car when he's making the faces at the kid.
Sure.
Her reaction didn't feel like real people.
Yeah,
to me.
that felt a little coerced. Yeah, that felt like
don't talk to my kid. Yeah. Like I was like, it's not. He's not even like next to your kid.
Right.
Your kid's turning around facing him. At the very least, you'd be like, turn your ass around, boy.
Right.
Like that's the interaction. Not blaming the guy making the faces because your kid is not seated properly.
I think it was
So I
a
thought
tool again to
Yes,
say the world hates Arthur Fleck.
Well, and there was a chance for him to give him the card that explains the
Yeah,
laughing.
yeah,
disorder.
yeah.
I understand. I just think that whole delivery of giving the viewer the card, letting us know that this was a condition, I think they could have just come up with a different vehicle for that delivery. That's all.
I agree.
So that didn't feel genuine to me. But great movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And where this movie shines is its subtlety, and the fact that it is not Joker until the end. And most films who have come out right in the beginning as like, "Ooh, here's this character, here's a superhero," they have failed miserably compared to what this film is about.
I was curious at what point they're going to draw the line to end the movie. Like, how far are we going to watch him be the Joker, or is it going to be the first time he... So I went into it, and then once I'm watching it, I'm like, where are they going to stop this movie and say, the end, now he's the Joker?
Yeah.
And so I was happily rewarded with the whole... With the street profit kind of riots in the streets thing.
Let me ask you, Brian, and I stayed to the very end until the reel basically turned white, all right?
Yeah.
Was there an ending? Like a post-credit scene? Because someone said, stay to the post-credit scene.
I think that's a joke.
Well, that was done after I'd already seen it. Someone
no, there is
I'm
not.
like, there's no post-credit scene.
I stayed
just
as
in case
well
because I loved the music.
I thought that maybe I was like, dude, if they could have some sort of just cackling in the back. I was wondering if they were going to do any kind of little stinger at the end. It didn't even have to be like a comic book, like, stay tuned next week, guys, here comes Batman. Like, I didn't need that.
No,
but I thought
zingers.
maybe like a cackling laugh or another picture of the Joker doing something, like reading the paper and just being intrigued, like something like that. Like, it didn't need to be too much, but I thought maybe they'll stick something at the end, but they did not.
I think the difference about this film compared to something like we would have expected from that, say like from an Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, but that's one of them's cartoon, one of them's not.
Well, this is an art film. This felt like an indie film.
You could have called this Bill.
Sure. Yeah.
And it would have worked. Like, it just happens that they wanted it to be the Joker. Like, this movie does not need to be a comic. Like, you can't watch Iron Man and then just call it something else.
No,
but this movie, it could be something else if it wanted to.
That's the strength of this film, is that it was written as a good story, a good movie, and that's why it makes it a great Joker film, because where most superhero movies have failed and comic book movies have failed is that they're trying to pander to a comic book mentality they think exists.
Yeah.
Just give us a good goddamn story.
Well,
just give us a good movie, and that's what this movie does.
We're never going to get... I don't think we're ever going to get that from Marvel, because Marvel is Disney now, and they're more interested in overall profitability. They're not interested in making good films. Well, they're interested in making toys, and they're interested in making book bags and Halloween suits and stuff like that. So that Marvel is going to not ever not push the boundaries like this. Whereas if DC just says, fuck a whole cinematic tied universe, like, other characters can exist, but we don't have to have them holding hands in every episode. Like, let's just start telling a one-off Batman story. Like,
I think this movie as a whole is a huge risk, and I applaud Todd Phillips. I applaud DC.
I hope that it leads to more. Just it's not being cast as the Joker for the movies. He's the Joker in this movie. Yeah. And if you make a Batman movie, then you'll put a different Joker in it, depending on what story you're trying to tell. And I think if they just look at each movie as to, we can have other characters exist in this world, but we don't have to show them. And we can cast each film on its own.
Yep.
Basically, to take each graphic novel of Batman, let's tell the Hush movie. Doesn't have to be Ben Affleck. It doesn't have to be anybody. Right. Let's just cast this Hush movie.
Make it a good story. Make it a good movie.
And then we'll cast this Death in the Family movie. Mm-hmm. And just look at it as what story you're telling.
That's what DC's doing with their animation right now.
And stop worrying about six-figure or 6-film contracts like Marvel's doing. Marvel's got their shit on lock.
Well, they don't have a movie that doesn't have a tie-in to it.
You tried to mimic Marvel, and you got fucked.
Yeah.
So start doing just solid stories, and don't worry about if he's going to be he's not going to be Batman in that film, but he was this. Just do your film.
I agree. I think
awesome.
That's where the Joker is a success. Their risk paid off, and I love the fact that it is an unapologetic movie. He smokes through the whole fucking film.
I hope we never see Joaquin Phoenix play the Joker again.
I'd be okay with that too. But if they have another story, fine. But I'm okay with it if they leave.
They're going to force it.
Well,
I've already seen online where they're like, "Oh, Joaquin says he's open for a sequel."
Yeah, but Ben Affleck was going to be, doing three
like Ben
Batmans.
Affleck.
I did too, but I'm just saying, like, he was supposed to be the Batman.
Yeah.
For a long time, and then they canceled his movie.
Yeah,
and they got somebody else, Pattinson or whatever. But and I'm sorry. Let's also bring up the fact that as great as this movie looks, as great as the Joker is. Where DC still fucks up is that Birds of Prey trailer looks like shit.
God dang, it does look bad.
And that's all I want to say about it. It looks like a complete piece of shit. Exactly.
But at least it'll
opposite
be its own, and it doesn't have to infect the rest of the DC universe.
It's just everything's wrong with it.
It doesn't look good.
It's just terrible.
But
but Joker is fantastic.
Joker was fantastic, and I hope that we get more into in just solo stuff. What else you got in your notes that you need to cover, man?
We covered a few things. I definitely want to make sure we got all that in there. I guess my fear is kind of like the Dark Knight Returns comic book virus. I think unfortunately what will be the backlash of this film is that now everybody's going to make a dark villain now. Everybody's going to start aping this film.
Well, they won't do it right, I promise.
Well, I agree, but I think that's the only thing that we're going to see next is like, Marvel will say, let's do an Electro movie, but it'll be dark.
No, I don't think. I
this
think Disney,
is a standalone
Disney
movie.
has Marvel's balls.
Well, I agree.
So
I just think that, unfortunately, I think they're going to try. If Harley Quinn's movie hadn't been out the way it is yet, I guarantee they would have said, "Oh shit, we can do this." Oh crap! Make her dark. And so I think what we're going to see in the next 5 years is more dark.
That's fine. It gives us
only if it's good.
It lets them not be in direct
you got any
competition. No, it lets them be in not direct competition with Marvel. Marvel's PG popcorn movies.
I agree.
And then let's go see some story-driven darkness. I like it, man.
I think we did very well. We enjoyed ourselves.
I can't wait to see it again. I can't
wait to own the damn thing.
Yeah, I hope that there's plenty of bonus.
I got the soundtrack coming today.
I hope there's plenty of bonusy stuff.
Yeah, me too. God, they if they did a Criterion version of this film and loaded me up with like 30 hours of extra supplemental shit.
Yeah.
Because this movie did not have any supplements other than the soundtrack. There's no sticker book. There's no coloring book. There's no art book. There's no magazine out that they have on the newsstands all the time. There's
no comic book tie-ins.
Nope. This movie is strictly by itself, and I love that. Although the junkie in me wants an art book and a book and a magazine.
Yeah, well, what happens is you get force-fed all that shit with all the stuff, and then it's not good. You don't want it, so they're like, we're not going to make it for this one, but whatever. So, any final thoughts, JR?
I loved the inclusion of all the extra songs other than the score by Hilder. Smile by Jimmy Durante, That's Life by Frank Sinatra. All the tunes that kind of helped become the soundtrack to his madness, which also reflected music of the time, the whole Charlie Chaplin moment in the theater. I love that all of it points to some of the greatest comedians of our time.
I also hope that this brings awareness to true mental illness.
Absolutely.
My heart hurts knowing that real people are dealing with these issues and they're just not being taken care of. And I know that there's some that are, and not everybody, but just knowing that someone out there is frustrated, just frustrated to the breaking point and not receiving help.
Or the fact that maybe there's somebody within our very day that could use a friend that day. Could use someone to talk to.
If you, I'll listen to people. I've had people reach out to me on social media that I've never met in person. And I'll just say, yeah, dude, I'm down to talk. Like anything that can, I want to be a force of good in this world. And if that helps somebody, I mean, it's not my job. I'm not a paid
but
professional.
but as a human being, I mean, if this movie can inspire people to help not feel like an Arthur Fleck,
yes, or
then
if you
let's
know
do
someone
that.
in your group or someone that you're close to, you're like, you know what, maybe Bill at work is a little, maybe I need to go out to lunch with Bill and just fucking have a
Or just
good
lend
time.
an ear, because we all feel like freaks sometimes, and I think it's just nice to know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
And not being alone is
I
an
hope
important thing.
this, in some small way, I hope that this movie brings some attention to that. So I hope so.
Agreed, man.
But I highly recommend this movie for anybody that just wants to see a solid movie. This is not an action movie. This is not a horror movie. This isn't a thriller.
It's not even a comic book movie.
This is just a movie watching somebody break. That's all it is.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I hope you enjoyed the movie. So, thank you for the people that showed up in the comments while we did this live, and thank you for those that listened to this on the iTunes, the Podbean, the Stitcher, the Spotify, the iHeartRadio. Thank you to all of you guys.
MyFace, the Facebook,
Oh, dude, you're old
my
as shit.
book.
All right, share this podcast. Help tell us what you think about the podcast, and tell us what you thought about this movie. And let's go out there and stay creative, man. What do you say? You want to do that?
I agree with that.
All right, you guys too. Y'all be good people and stay creative.
It's almost time.